Abandoned at birth, millionaire's wife left alone, revealing a shocking secret about her partner. Amber's chest tightened as she stood in the dimly lit hallway, shadows dancing across the walls like ghosts of the past. She could feel her heart racing, beating louder with every echo that seemed to whisper dark secrets about her husband, the elusive millionaire. Just moments ago, she had stumbled onto an old, dusty photo hidden in the back of a forgotten drawer. It showed a woman, strikingly familiar, with a knowing smile that sent chills down Amber's spine. Who was she? Why was her face haunting her now? The room spun, her hands trembling as she clutched the photo, desperate for answers. As Amber pieced together her husband's secretive past, strange things began to happen. The air grew thick with tension. She noticed the way he avoided certain topics during dinner, how his smile seemed to falter when she mentioned family. Was there more than just money involved in their life together? Her mind raced with questions. Had he really left her in the dark about everything? The living room was bathed in the golden hue of the setting sun, but all she felt was the cold weight of betrayal. Crouched in the dark, Amber picked up another old box she had found buried beneath a pile of blankets. Inside were letters, yellowed with age, filled with words of longing and pain from a woman named Clara. The ink blurred with time, but the emotion cut through raw and clear. "I thought I lost you forever," the last line read. Her heart raced with fear. What had happened to Clara? To the love her husband had before? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the letters clutched tightly in her hand, panic began to seep in. What if Clara wasn't just a ghost from the past? What if she was still out there, lurking in the shadows, ready to claim the life Amber thought was hers? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the next room, snapping her from her reverie. The sound pierced the uneasy silence, and she froze, pulse pounding like a drum. Who or what was hiding just out of sight? Amber edged toward the door, breath held tight in her throat. What awaited her on the other side? Amber's heart raced as she pressed a trembling hand against the cold surface of the door, straining to hear any sounds beyond it. The house felt alive, the whispers of purpose braiding through the creaks of the floorboards beneath her feet. With a sudden burst of resolve, she flung the door open. The room was empty, save for the lingering sense of old wood and dust. It took her eyes a moment to adjust to the dim light, but as she stepped inside, she was instantly met with the sight of her husband's once-cherished study. Books lined the shelves, every title hinting at worlds she had never known. Her gaze darted towards the jagged remains of what appeared to be a shattered vase on the floor. "Jason?" she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. The stillness was deafening. Waves of unease crashed over her, and she took a cautious step forward, careful not to step on the shards. The larger question loomed in her mind: why had her husband been here? She had imagined this room as his sanctuary, but now it felt more like a crypt holding secrets that begged to be unearthed. A sudden movement flickered in the corner of her eye. She turned sharply. Empty walls stared back at her. Goosebumps prickled on her skin. Then, a slip of paper caught her attention, fluttering on the desk. With hesitant steps, Amber approached it. The papers scattered across the surface were neatly arranged, making her heart twist in confusion. The top sheet bore a single name: Clara. Her breath hitched as she read the hurried, scrawled notes beneath. There were references to meetings at night, hushed conversations, and places that felt deeply entwined with betrayal. Each line resonated with the tension of a painful history, as though Clara wasn't just a fleeting memory but a dangerous reckoning. A sudden thud against the wall startled her, and she let out a small gasp. The room echoed, amplifying the sound, shaking her to the core. Panicking, she turned, scanning for the source, but found nothing but shadows dancing in the corners. Just then, Her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, causing her to jump. Heart racing, she pulled it out. It was a text message from an unknown number. Your husband isn't who you think he is. Find the truth before it's too late. Clara. Amber's breath caught in her throat. She could feel her world tear at its seams. What truth? What danger? Her fingers shook, yet she felt a fierce spark igniting within her. Was Clara out there? Was she threatening her life, or was she reaching out for help? Determined, Amber rushed out of the study and into the living room, her thoughts fragmented yet fervent. The letters, the photo, the message, it all came crashing down, a whirlwind of confusion and urgency. The darkness outside pressed against the windows, as ominous as the truths lurking in her life. She needed answers. Suddenly, her husband's keys jingled loudly at the front door. Amber's heart dropped. Jason was home. She ran to hide behind the curtains, her mind racing. Would he know she had discovered everything? What did he hide behind his charming smile? The door opened, and she held her breath. What was he going to reveal? And how deep did this mystery go? Amber pressed her body against the curtain, her heart pounding like a drum. Through the thin fabric, she could barely make out Jason's sophisticated silhouette as he strolled into the living room, his movements relaxed and carefree, all too unaware of the heavy atmosphere surrounding them. Amber? He called, his voice smooth but tinged with an underlying concern. She held her breath, wishing she could dissolve into the shadows. Thoughts raced through her mind like racing cars on a track. Did he know? Had he sensed her lingering in the study? Or was he still oblivious to the storm brewing around them? Amber's body was tense, ready to bolt, but she forced herself to stay put, listening as Jason moved through the living room, tossing his keys onto the coffee table. As he settled onto the couch, his phone buzzed. The all-too-familiar sound sent shivers down her spine. She could view him from the side, his face illuminated by the blue light of the screen. He frowned as he read a message, his fingers scrolling quickly. Amber's heart sank. Could it be Clara reaching out to him? Damn it, he muttered under his breath, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. Not now. Amber's instincts kicked in. This was the moment she had been dreading. She had to know. Stepping back very quietly, she maneuvered toward the edge of the curtain, inching forward to get a better look. Suddenly, Jason stood up, pacing with an agitation that sent a jolt through her. It's just a misunderstanding, he was saying, partially to himself as if trying to convince not only Amber but also his own shadowed conscience. We can still fix this. Fix what? Panic coursed through her veins, mixing with the growing realization that the time for hiding was over. She had to confront him. The truth hung thick in the air like a weight, begging to be released. Why was your phone buzzing with Clara's name? She called out, her voice trembling yet resolute. He whipped around, eyes widening in shock. Amber. Caught off guard, she stepped fully out from behind the curtain, ready to face whatever storm awaited her. Jason's expression morphed from surprise to guarded anger. You shouldn't be in here. I thought I told you not to what? To stay in the dark? She interrupted, her voice shaking but firm. To ignore the signs? Your secret life? I found the notes, Jason. Clara is not just a name, she's a part of this twisted web you've spun. The tension in the air thickened, palpable as they stood toe to toe. Jason's eyes darted, searching her face for clues of betrayal or perhaps fear. Listen. No! She interrupted again, the fire in her heart igniting further. You listen. You've been hiding something, and I need to understand why. For the first time, uncertainty flashed across his face. He opened his mouth, hesitating like a man teetering on the edge of a precipice. Amber, please, let us talk about this sensibly. Talk? About what? Your lies? Your double life? Suddenly, his phone buzzed again, cutting through the rising tension, the sound almost mocking. Without thinking, she snatched it from his hand. The screen flashed a familiar name, Clara, once more. Jason lunged, but she stepped back, pulse racing. You need to tell me the truth right now. He stood frozen for a heartbeat, the hint of desperation in his eyes. You don't know what you're getting into. Try me, Amber fired back, voice raw, ready for the revelations. But just as the moment thickened, and Jason took a step forward, the lights in the house flickered violently. A blast of electricity crackled, plunging them into darkness. Amber's scream echoed in the pitch blackness, and she felt Jason's hand reach for her, but she recoiled. Stay back. She could hear whispers, faint yet chilling, a voice that sounded eerily like Clara's. They echoed in the darkness, wrapping around her like tendrils of frost. You shouldn't have come here. What did Clara want? What danger loomed in the shadows? As the power returned, Amber turned to find Jason staring at her, panic etched across his face. We need to leave. Now. Amber hesitated, fear and urgency gripping her. What was happening? In the whirlwind of darkness and confusion, secrets whispered from every corner. Could they escape the truth together, or was something far more sinister waiting just beyond the veil of their shattered trust? Jason's eyes flickered to the window, the soft street light casting ghostly shadows across the room. The word leave hung between them, heavy and impenetrable. Amber's heart raced, confusion mixing with dread. What was out there waiting for them? What do you mean, leave? She asked, voice low and tight with apprehension. What's happening? He stepped closer, his face a mix of urgency and fear. I didn't want you to find out like this. You deserve to know the truth, but it isn't safe here. The rising tension electrified her. What aren't you telling me? His gaze flickered away, and in that moment, Amber felt the ground shift beneath her. Clara, she's not who you think she is. You need to trust me. Trust you? She scoffed, anger and disbelief battling within her. You've been lying to me. How can I trust anything that comes out of your mouth? There's more at stake. She has a hold over me, over everything. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of pure frustration. Please, just listen for a second. Amber's pulse quickened, her instincts screaming at her. Listen to what? More excuses? More lies? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Heart racing, Amber turned toward the noise. What was that? Jason grabbed her wrist, urgency flaring in his eyes. We have to go, now. No! She pulled back, fear gripping her as she wrestled with his hold. I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Clara knows about you. She is coming for you. The words slipped from his lips like poison, each one twisting the knife deeper into her gut. What do you mean? Coming for me? But before he could respond, the lights flickered again, and this time a louder noise erupted from the back door. A jagged breath caught in Amber's throat. It sounded like someone's here. Jason turned to the sound, his body rigid, every muscle coiled like a spring. Stay close to me. Whatever you do, don't let her see you. Let who see me? She trembled, dread pooling at her feet. She didn't have to wait long for an answer. The door swung open with a creak, revealing a woman silhouetted in the dim light. Clara's figure stepped into view, an eerie calmness about her, as the moonlight painted her face in stark contrast. A serpent in a garden of roses. Jason, Clara's voice slithered through the air like smoke. You shouldn't have brought her here. Amber's heart pounded in her chest, every instinct demanding her to flee. Jason's eyes latched onto Clara, a mix of fear and anger brewing beneath his composed exterior. What do you want, Clara? I want the truth, she replied, a smile creeping over her lips, cold and cruel. And the truth is, you both have something I need. Something that ties us all together. Amber stepped back, dread pooling like ice in her veins. What are you talking about? Clara took a step forward, her expression calculating. Oh, you'll find out soon enough. But Jason? He has been keeping secrets from you. Secrets that change everything. Jason's face contorted, but Amber was too caught up in Clara's haunting gaze. What do you know? Clara chuckled softly, a sound filled with malice. Let's just say, Jason's past is far from perfect. And if you're not careful, Amber, it might just swallow you whole. The air between them vibrated with tension, an invisible battlefield forming as Clara's eyes locked onto Amber's, hungry for chaos. How do I know you're not lying? Amber's voice trembled, battling through the fear that swelled within her. Because, dear, Clara said, her voice dripping with sweetness, you can't escape the truth. It always finds a way to surface, navigating the tightrope between fear and shattered loyalty. Amber's mind raced. With every beat of her heart, the stakes grew higher. Was her world about to collapse? In a flash, Jason pushed Amber behind him, standing tall and defiant. Don't you dare threaten her. But in that moment, the shadows around them seemed to thicken, the reality closing in like a vice. Amber could feel the truth lurking just beyond her reach, and with Clara in front of them, secrets ready to spill, she wondered how far they had both fallen. What shocking revelations awaited her in the chaos of their tangled lives? What horrifying secrets would tear their fragile world apart? Amber's heart thudded against her chest, a frantic drumbeat urging her to flee. The air felt thick, as if the very walls could hear Clara's words echoing in the silence. She glanced at Jason, whose body remained tense, a protector caught between two storms, but his eyes betrayed him fear-streaked with desperation. Whatever you think you know, it's not what it seems, Jason said, his voice steady yet strained. Just leave her out of this, Clara. Clara stepped forward, her movements smooth and deliberate, like a predator stalking its prey. Oh, Jason, you underestimate me. It's too late for that now. She is already tangled in our web. Her twisted smile revealed no warmth, just ice-cold certainty. Amber felt the walls closing in, every heartbeat amplifying her dread. What do you want from us? She asked, her voice wavering yet defiant. Just say it. You're not making any sense. Clara tilted her head, all too pleased with the fear she instilled. I want the truth, Amber. The truth that will crumble your world just like it did Jason's. Jason's jaw clenched. Stop it, Clara. You have no right to drag her into your games. But Clara only laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Amber's spine. Games? Oh no, sweetheart, this is far from a game. This is about blood. Yours. And Jason's. The revelation hung in the air, heavy and unsettling. Blood? Suddenly, Amber felt sick. Her thoughts raced. What did that mean? Was there something darker lurking beneath everything Jason had shared? In a flash, the shadows around them moved, swirling like a coming storm. Amber's instinct screamed at her to run, but she couldn't look away from Clara. What blood? What are you talking about? Funny you should ask, Clara replied, her tone a mockery of innocence. Jason, dear, you've hidden it all so well, our connection. She leaned closer, eyes sparkling with a malicious delight. Did you know you share lineage with a very powerful family? And I intend to claim what is rightfully mine. Jason's expression morphed from shock to fury. You're out of your mind. But Clara didn't back down. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled out an old, tattered envelope, the edges frayed and worn. Oh, I think you both need to see this. In the dim light, Amber caught a glimpse of the envelope's contents, a stack of faded photographs, each one depicting a family reunion with people who looked all too familiar. She glanced at Jason, whose eyes darkened with recognition and horror. Jason, is this? Amber's voice cracked, realization dawning like a bitter fog. Is this your family? Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from the end of the hallway. The sound jolted them all, shifting the tension like a spark to dry wood. Clara's grin widened sinisterly. Looks like we've got company. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted from chilling dread to palpable panic. A loud thumping echoed closer, footsteps rushing through the house. Run! Jason yelled, snatching Amber's hand, pulling her toward the stairwell. They raced towards the shadows, but the weight of Clara's revelation lingered heavily in their minds. Where do we go? Amber gasped, her legs moving but her heart feeling leaden, a mix of fear and confusion clawing at her. Upstairs. Jason barked, urgency fueling him. We'll figure it out there. As they bounded up the stairs, the din grew closer, each step resonating with uncertainty, a countdown to whatever horror awaited them. Clara's laughter pursued them, echoing in the walls like a haunted melody. You can run, but the truth will catch up with you. Will they find safety? Or will Clara's revelation be the catalyst for even greater chaos? Anxiety pulsed in Amber's veins as they reached the top of the staircase, not knowing what awaited in the shadows ahead. The air at the top of the stairs was stale and dim, shadowed by the remnants of a once grand home now draped in a cloak of silence. Jason pulled Amber towards a narrow door at the end of the hall, the only refuge in sight. They burst inside, slamming it shut behind them, and caught their breath, hearts racing like frantic birds trying to escape. Jason, what the hell is going on? Amber gasped between breaths, panic threatening to overwhelm her entirely. She pressed her back against the door, her palm flat against the cool wood, as though it could shield her from the reality closing in all around them. I don't know, Jason replied, his voice strained. He was staring at the door, ears attuned to the distant echoes of footsteps so close, yet so far. But Clara isn't just after us. She's playing a much bigger game. Amber felt the room turn. The weight of Jason's words pressed against her like an anchor tethering her to a cold, unforgiving reality. Clara's twisted family legacy wove its way into their lives like a dark thread they never wanted to wear. Is this about that family you just saw? What do all those pictures mean? Jason ran a hand through his hair, a gesture filled with distress. I don't know all the details. I thought I left it all behind. But it looks like I was wrong. She has somehow claimed whatever voodoo legacy binds us together. His fists clenched at his sides, frustration clearly bubbling beneath his surface. What are we going to do? Amber asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. She could feel the tremor in her legs, could taste the metallic bite of fear on her tongue. He met her gaze, and in that moment, they shared a silent understanding, a pact of necessity. We need to find out what she knows. If she has proof, actual proof of this so-called connection, we can't let her use it against us. Before Amber could respond, there came another loud thump at the door, followed by Clara's sing-song voice filtering through the wood. Oh, darling, let me in. I promise I won't bite much. The light-hearted tone stood at stark contrast with the dagger hanging in her words, a fluid reminder that Clara was relentless. Amber's breath hitched, and Jason stepped in front of her, a rock against the turbulent tide. Just stay quiet, he whispered, but Amber could feel her pulse racing, echoing in her ears like an alarm. The thumping grew louder, and the door trembled as Clara leaned against it, her laughter mingling with the sounds of raucous footsteps downstairs. We can have fun, you know, she teased. You'll wish you let me in when the real party starts. Jason's eyes flicked to the small barred window in the corner of the room, a fleeting idea sparking in his mind. We need to get out of here, he said suddenly. Follow my lead. Before Amber could ask how they would escape, Jason pushed aside a stack of old boxes, revealing a wooden ladder that led to the attic. Up there. It'll buy us some time to think. He didn't wait for her answer. With panic surging, they climbed quickly, the rickety ladder creaking under their weight, pushing them into darkness. The attic was cramped, cluttered with bits and pieces from a life long forgotten, but they couldn't linger. They needed a plan. Below, Clara's taunts echoed in the silence, each word drawing tighter the noose of dread around Amber's heart. She instinctively brushed her fingers against an old trunk, its surface cold and unwelcoming. What do you think she wants from us? Amber asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jason's brow furrowed, deep in thought. Something valuable. A secret hidden in shadows. Whatever it is, we can't let her have it. But as the footsteps grew distant and night crept deeper, Amber couldn't shake a feeling that perhaps Clara knew more about them than they realized. A chill slid down her spine as she said, what if we're not just caught in her game? What if we are the pieces she's after? Just then, Jason turned, eyes wide with dawning horror. You think she? A crash echoed from below, a loud splintering sound that silenced them both. The door downstairs burst open, and Clara's distinctive laughter soared through the air, as the shadows thickened, bringing a sense of encroaching doom. Let the games begin, Clara sang out, sending a ripple of ice through Amber. What if the truth she sought was more devastating than they could imagine? They were trapped in a web, but was it one of Clara's making, or was something deeper laced into their very identities? Amber felt the weight of the world pressing down, knowing their next move could determine everything. As they peered into the darkness, a flicker of a possibility cut through the gloom. Could it lead to salvation, or would it expose secrets buried long ago? Amber felt Jason's tension vibrating through his every word. They were more than players in Clara's sinister game, they were pieces from a past they had thought they could escape. With each rattle from the attic floorboards beneath their feet, Amber was reminded of complicity, of guilt, of the thin line between past and present. What did she mean by the Rio party? Amber whispered, the fear creeping in with sharp claws, grasping at her throat. I don't know, Jason replied, brows knit in intense concentration as he surveyed the cluttered space. Dust motes danced in the sparse light that filtered through the tiny window, but all that met their gazes now felt heavy, ominous. But we need to figure out the connection she has to us before it's too late. Amber closed her eyes for a moment, steadied her breath, pulling in the stale air that tasted faintly of mildew and faded memories. She opened them again, irritation slicing through fear. Then let us search this attic. There must be something valuable, something Clara wants. If we can just find it. As they rifled through forgotten items, old clothes, boxes filled with tarnished silverware, the remnants of lives long gone, they summoned their courage, chipping away at the layers of dread. But every discovery felt like a whisper of the past, a reminder of something they were meant to forget. Jason abruptly froze. Amber! Look at this. He reached deep into a shadowed corner, pulling out a small wooden box, its surface carved with intricate symbols that made Amber's skin prickle. What is it? She asked, leaning closer. I think it's a keepsake box. He fumbled with the latch, and as it clicked open, a rush of air stirred around them, thick with anticipation. Inside lay a series of delicate trinkets, each one more captivating than the last. But one, nestled at the bottom, shone brighter, a small, shimmering locket. Amber's heart raced. Is that? Holy crap, yes! Jason exclaimed, lifting it gingerly. The locket was cold to the touch, humming with an eerie energy. I've seen this before in Clara's photographs. It belonged to her mother. Images filled Amber's mind, a lost woman, wrapped in mystery, of whom Clara had spoken in tones of reverence and dread. We have to confront her, Amber said, feeling the buoyancy of resolve. They could use this locket against Clara, turn the game in their favor. Suddenly, a cacophony of noise exploded from below, crashing through the door Jason had so hastily locked. Clara was storming the house with her cult-like entourage, their laughter mingling with chaotic shouts stretching into a dark promise. Amber's stomach sank. They're coming for us. We have to. Before she could finish, the attic door burst open, revealing a broader silhouette standing in the threshold against the dim light, Clara, with menace glinting in her eyes. The thrill of triumph fell flat. Did you think you could keep something that is part of me? Clara gloated, a knowing smirk curling her lips. How adorable. Amber's pulse quickened. Get back! Jason shouted, moving to shield Amber, but Clara simply stepped forward, her presence expanding in the confined space as if it fed off their fear. A chuckling crowd swirled behind her, figures cloaked in shadow, eyes gleaming with a kind of frenzied devotion, and a chill licked up Amber's spine. This isn't a game you can win, Clara said, her voice smooth as silk yet laced with venom. You're already caught, and soon you'll know exactly what I want. For the first time, doubt gnawed at Amber. Things were unraveling faster than she could comprehend. As the figures pressed closer, the attic felt smaller, tighter, and every instinct screamed at her to fight or flee. Jason grabbed the locket, the weight of it heavy in his palm. We'll use this against you, Clara, he shouted defiantly. But Clara simply laughed once more, the sound echoing through the dim, dust-laden air. Darling, it's not about what you can do against me. It's about what you don't even realize you are. Amber felt the ground shift beneath her. The stakes were higher than she imagined. As Uncertainty gripped her. A sudden flicker of movement caught her eye. Something or someone unexpected lurked in the shadows, waiting to reveal itself. The question hung heavily over them: what unknown complication had Clara woven into the chaos? And was the locket truly a key, or a shiny trap meant for their demise? The attic felt alive with tension, and as Clara's shadow loomed closer, the gravity of their choices pivoted dangerously, leaving Amber and Jason teetering on the edge of revelation or ruin. Amber's heart raced as she shifted her gaze from Clara to the shadows behind her. The thick atmosphere was suffocating, crackling with unspoken threats. Who or what hid just out of sight? The cult-like figures shifted restlessly, their eyes wide and gleaming, hungry for her fear, but she refused to give in to the dread that coiled around her. "Can we get out of here?" Jason's voice trembled slightly, a crack in his usual bravado. The locket felt impossibly heavy in his grip, like an anchor tethering them to this twisted reality. "No," Clara replied smoothly, her voice mocking as if she read his thoughts. "You won't be leaving until you understand your part in this." The ambiguity in her words filled the cramped attic. Amber's mind raced. "Understand our part?" she echoed. "What do you mean?" Clara stepped forward, addressing them as if she were unveiling an elaborate riddle. "Every secret you've buried is here. In this house, in this room. And now, both of you are here because I need." She paused, licking her lips, "to remind you of who you really are." Amber clenched her fists, the pulse of adrenaline fighting against the chill in the air. "You don't scare us," she shouted, feigning confidence. But behind her defiance, fear clawed at her insides. "Do I?" Clara leaned closer, her smile widening, revealing something almost feral beneath her otherwise composed exterior. "I know about your past, Amber. About the things you tried to forget, the things you lost." Jason shot her a worried glance. "What does she mean?" Clara ignored him, her voice dripping with satisfaction as she turned back to Amber. "And you, sweetheart, will soon discover the truth about why you came back to this town, and how it's all connected." Amber's mind raced. What could Clara possibly know? Her life was a tapestry of stitched secrets, barely holding together. "You're wrong," she managed. "You don't know anything about me." "Oh, but I do." Clara leaned even closer now, their eyes locking in a battle of wills. "And I know exactly what you need to remember." "Isn't that why we're here?" A sudden screech pierced the air. Amber jumped, her heart leaping into her throat as an unseen force crashed through the attic window, sending shards of glass spiraling into the room. The crowd erupted into gasps and shouts, but Clara remained unfazed, eyes glinting with twisted delight. "Ah, a dramatic entrance," she declared, clapping her hands together. Amber's breath quickened as she pieced together the chaos unfolding. A figure, cloaked in darkness, emerged from behind the chaos, a slender silhouette zigzagging through the fray. It was someone familiar, and with them came the promise of answers, or perhaps more questions. "Amber!" The voice called out, cutting through the tension. It was a voice she hadn't heard in years, but one that pulsed with urgency and fear. "Who?" she barely whispered, her mind racing even faster than her heartbeat. "Run!" the figure shouted just as Clara's expression morphed from amusement to rage, realization dawning in her eyes that her hold on the game was slipping. The shadows shifted again, and the atmosphere crackled with electricity and impending peril. Amber felt Jason's hand clasp over her wrist, urging her to move. But before they could react, Clara's laughter erupted, wild and haunting. "You think you can escape me? Think again." The intertwined fates of them all, Amber, Jason, Clara, and the newcomer, swirled in the attic as chaos enveloped them, threatening to trap them in a web far more complex than they'd ever anticipated. As they turned to flee, an explosive noise shook the attic. Light exploded in their direction, blinding for a moment, before everything descended into darkness. In that black void, Amber felt Jason's grip tighten. But her heart pounded not just in fear, but with an urgent question burning in her mind: what would they discover about their past, and could the darkness truly hide their salvation or their doom? With the shadows closing in, they were forced to confront everything they thought they had escaped. Amber gasped as the darkness settled like a heavy blanket over them. It felt thick, almost alive, wrapping around her with a sinister embrace. Jason's grip was firm on her wrist, grounding her amidst the chaos. The crash of glass still echoed in her ears, and she could feel the prickling heat of 100 eyes directed toward them, hungry, waiting. "Where are we?" Jason whispered, his breath warm against her ear. Fear mingled with bubbling curiosity filled the space between them. "I don't know," she replied, her voice trembling. "But we need to get out." The shadows danced in front of her, shifting and swirling as if aware of her desperation. The urgent run from the figure hadn't exactly provided clarity. Who had shouted? What had brought them to this moment? "Is anyone even out there?" Jason's voice cracked. An unearthly shriek shattered the momentary silence, echoing into the void. Clara was still in the mix, her laughter ringing out as if delighted by their unease. "You can't hide from the past, Amber. It always finds a way to resurface." Her voice was a serrated edge, cutting through the darkness. Amber swallowed hard, gulping down rising panic. "Shut up, Clara!" she shouted back, forcing a bravado she didn't feel. What was it that Clara knew about her past? It clawed at her mind, pushing remnants of forgotten memories to the surface. Before she could think further, the familiar voice sliced through the murkiness again, causing a flicker of hope to ignite in her chest. "Follow me." It was clear now, and unyielding. The figure moved back through the shattered window, stepping closer, albeit obscured by the shadows. "Who are you?" Amber pleaded, straining to see the face hidden in the dim light. Was it someone sent to rescue them, or another trap laid by Clara? "Just trust me," came the reply, as the figure extended a hand towards them, beckoning them to escape the confinement of the dark haze that consumed the attic. "What do we do?" Jason asked, his eyes darting between the approaching figure and the chaos erupting in Clara's smirk. Amber didn't have time for indecision. "We go. Now." She felt the tightness in her chest ease slightly as she made the choice, yanking Jason's hand and propelling them both forward. Just as they took a tentative step towards the light, something yanked back at Amber, strong and unyielding. She spun around to find Clara's outline grinning malevolently, her finger pointed like a serpent preparing to strike. "Do you remember this?" Clara's voice dripped with mockery. In her grip, Clara held a small object, the locket Jason clutched just moments ago. "No!" Jason cried out, horror filling his face. "That's mine!" Amber's gut twisted. "What do you want, Clara?" "Only to remind you," Clara sneered, her demeanor shifting like the shadows around them, "that you are tied to this place, to me, and to the truth." The locket glowed in Clara's hand, pulsing like a heart, radiating a dark energy that pulled at Amber's core. She felt a sudden wave of recognition mixed with dread. It was a vessel of memories long buried. "What truth?" Amber shouted, steeling herself against the surge of emotion that threatened to sweep her off her feet. But Clara just chuckled, turning away as she raised the locket to her lips, almost like an incantation. "You'll find out soon enough." With a flick of her wrist, light exploded from the locket, illuminating the attic in a blinding aurora of vivid colors. Amber squinted. The brilliance was overwhelming, but within it, a flicker of memories surged, faces, moments, glimmers of what she had lost. "Run!" the figure exclaimed, pulling Amber and Jason back into the swirling shadows as everything erupted into chaos. Amber's heart thundered in her chest. They stumbled over broken glass and debris, the floor shuddering under her feet. And even as she ran, a chilling thought flickered at the back of her mind. What could the locket unlock, and how deep was the rabbit hole they were now diving into? As they darted through the chaos, a chilling scream echoed from Clara. "Don't think you can change your fate." The darkness seemed to surge, shifting like a predator preparing to pounce. What fate awaited them? And would they survive long enough to reclaim the memories buried within the locket that defined them both? In that fraught moment, Amber felt the weight of years resting heavily on her shoulders. They had no choice but to discover the truth, for better or worse, in a place where nightmares easily dance with memories. The explosion of light flooded the attic, blinding Amber and Jason as they stumbled back, their hearts racing, instincts screaming for escape. The force of Clara's laughter echoed like thunder, its terrifying edge slicing through the turmoil. Amidst the colorful chaos, figures loomed, shadows merging with memories, forming a swirling vortex of the past. Jason pulled Amber forward, urgency fueling his every movement. "We have to get out of here." "Where?" she gasped, breathless from fear and confusion as they navigated through the clutter of forgotten relics and shattered glass. "Anywhere but here." Amber could feel the heat from the light behind them, pulsing as if it were alive, but it also brought with it strands of recognition, threads of her own history woven into the shimmering glow. Every flash was a reminder of the heartache and loss she tried to forget. In the distance, Clara's voice rang out, tinged with both authority and malice. "You think you can escape your history? You chose this path." "Shut up!" Amber yelled, fighting to tune her out. Bursting out of the attic door, Jason led them down the narrow staircase, darkness draping over them like a heavy shroud. With every step, the cacophony of Clara's cult-like followers echoed behind them, their shouts mixing with the remnants of her warnings. The hallway felt endless, shadows stretching around them like lurking specters. Amber glanced at Jason, whose face was a fierce mask of determination. "We need to find a way out. Those photographs, they have to mean something." "There." He pointed urgently to a faint light seeping under a closed door at the end of the hall. They rushed toward it, dread and hope battling fiercely. Jason pushed the door open with a shove, and they stumbled into a sun-soaked room, an old study, bright and serene, sharply contrasting the chaos left behind. Amber gasped at the sight. "Why is this here?" she murmured, heart racing. "Maybe it's a clue, a trap." Jason paused, looking back toward the dark hall. But before they could think further, the door slammed shut behind them. The silence felt almost suffocating. "What do we do now?" Amber's voice shook, desperation pooling in her belly. They had escaped from the darkness, but only into another unknown. Jason stepped further into the room, eyes scanning the walls infused with bright light from tall windows. "It feels different. Almost like a safe haven?" As he placed a hand on an old leather-bound book resting on a desk, a vibrant energy surged through the air, crackling with tension. A flicker of recognition glanced across Jason's face. "This is it, Amber. This is what Clara was looking for." Her heart pounded, a haunting thrill running through her. "What do you mean?" "Look," he said, flipping the book open. Inside lay notes, sketches, and diagrams that detailed connections between families, histories they never knew. "It's all here, our pasts, intertwined. This can expose Clara." Amber leaned closer, reading the names linking them to a legacy she never knew existed. This changes everything. Then we need to use it to turn the tide." His expression hardened with resolve. "But we'll need to confront Clara and end this cycle. It can't go on like this." The weight of his words settled around them. Amber felt her heart quicken, a fierce determination igniting deep within. "You're right. We can't let her control us anymore." The sudden crack of wood behind them sent chills up Amber's spine. The door rattled, and the malevolent laughter they both dreaded seeped into the room like a poison gas. Clara was coming, and she wouldn't stop until she reclaimed what she felt belonged to her. "Amber, ready?" Jason's voice brought her back to the moment. "Ready." They moved toward the door, the old book lingering in Jason's hands, an emblem of their newfound hope. As Clara pushed against the door, her voice oozed within the confines. "You think you can find salvation hidden in a book?" Pathetic. With a united front, Amber and Jason faced the door, hearts beating as one. They could feel every ounce of Clara's anger radiating through the wood, a palpable force trying to crush them. "Clara!" Jason called out, voice steady, bolstered by their resolve. "We're not scared of you anymore. This ends here." The door barely cracked open as Clara forced her way through, her presence a storm cloud amidst the sunlight flooding in. She stood framed in the doorway, eyes narrowed, a vying ferocity flashing beneath the calm surface. "You're too naive, Jason. You truly don't grasp the game you've walked into." Amber stepped forward, a fire igniting within. No. You're the one who underestimated us. You think you have control, but we've discovered our history, and we're not afraid to fight. Jason held up the book. You've lost already, Clara? This will expose you for who you really are, a manipulative shadow of your past. Every pause hung thick with tension, Clara's composure wavering. You think knowledge will save you? You're merely puppets dancing on strings you cannot even recognize. Maybe, Amber replied, heart pounding, but we're ready to cut those strings. Together. As Clara lunged forward, chaos erupted, a fierce battle of wills intertwining amidst the ancient legacy now brewing in their hearts. The light from the window shone brighter, illuminating the truth that had long been buried in shadows. Together, Amber and Jason faced the impending storm, ready to reclaim their destinies from the grasp of their past. With each heartbeat, they drew closer to understanding the legacy that entwined them, a truth that had the power to break the chains binding them all. Clara shrieked in frustration, but Amber and Jason stood united, not just against the shadows but for the light they sought to uncover. In the battle between light and dark, they could now finally see the path unfolding before them. They were ready to face whichever way the winds would blow. As the dust settled, and amidst the storm raging around them, Amber knew this was their moment, a chance to reclaim not only their past but a brighter future together, and with the unseen strength swelling within their hearts, the echoes of fear faded, leaving only the pulse of love and family, an unyielding bond carried through the ages. This was their truth. This was their time. So, dear friends, don't let the legacy end here. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive tales, filled with revelations that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now so we can keep sharing thrilling stories like this one. Flood the comments below. What did you think of Amber and Jason's journey? Let us connect and share theories about the twists ahead, and don't wait even one more second to share this with your friends who need to be part of this community. True fans know the importance of supporting our story,